We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Holly Shallow, and I am a Customer Account Manager with Unanet. And today we're going to be reviewing Unanet project notes and how you can simplify, search, and share business intelligence using Unanet. So as always, we like to take care of some housekeeping items. So if you have any network or internet delays, please re-enter the GoToWebinar session. Also, if you have any questions, please use the GoToWebinar queue that's listed in the GTW box on your screen, and you can enter questions as we go throughout the webinar. If we have time at the end, we may go through some of those questions, but most likely we will make sure that those are routed to your specific customer account manager, and we'll have those questions answered for you. If you have any feedback on our webinar or other webinars that you would like to have us do, please send an email to cam@unanet.com. So I'm going to start off with the first question by just taking a quick poll, and it is very important. If every person could ask just one question throughout the webinar, it would be very helpful. We love to hear your questions and how you're using things. So I am going to just start out. I'm going to do this quick poll on, is your organization currently using project notes? So if you wouldn't mind just quickly filling this out. Looks like I have about 60% of you already voted. Keep going. That's fantastic. All right, great. So very interesting results that we have so far. I have here, it says that 36% of the users here are using this feature. 60% are not, and a handful of you, 3%, actually are not familiar with this feature. So that's actually exactly why we wanted to share this information. Okay. All right, so to get started, I first wanted to go over what is CAM and who is my customer account manager. So the customer account management team is the primary relationship manager for Unanet customers, existing Unanet customers. We are focused on your education and engagement in the Unanet product, and we are your resource for information on product capabilities, enhanced features, and license types. We are also responsible for coordinating product upgrades and professional services or consulting engagements, and we provide these bi-weekly customer webinars. If you are unsure who your customer account manager is, please send an email to cam@unanet.com, and we will be sure to have your CAM follow up with you. So, why project notes? Well, we keep hearing from you, how can I gather and share information using Unanet? So when we think about this information, there's a couple different things that come to mind. So issue and risk tracking, trouble ticketing, status reports or meeting action items, statements of work or contracts for work, human resource documents or other documents that you would like to manage in one system, training or business process workflow, and even being able to capture transactions or widgets, if you will. So Unanet does this. What are we missing? Project Notes is a tool in Unanet that allows for wiki features and collaboration tools. A wiki is defined as an online system that allows you to create, edit, and share content. Project Notes allows you to do this, therefore collaborating within your system. Unanet also allows you a place to share business processes and to share knowledge or transfer knowledge throughout your organization. Finally, it also gives you the ability through attachments to do document sharing and, of course, via our vast array of reports and ad hoc reporting to report on the information that you've captured. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the nuts and bolts of project notes, and I really want this to be a training type webinar. So the first thing in setting up notes is, or actually setting up notes in general, is very simple. But the key piece to setting up project notes is your business process. Because project notes are so simple to set up in Unanet, we don't want you to just go in and put in note types and statuses and start to throw information into the system, because it would be easy to do. Ideally, you would sit down with your organization, flesh out the rules and processes that are important to you and the information that you would want to capture, and then create a system of using project notes. Once you have that part of the puzzle, then we would advise that you go in and start to create your note types, statuses, and if applicable, user-defined fields. If you are a Unanet administrator, you begin by using the admin and setup tools, and then by creating first note types and note statuses. Note types can be created to match your organization's needs and business processes. There is no limit on the number of note types that you can create. As you can see here, we have 22 note types in this particular example. So here's some sample of note types that we've created. And as a bonus, note types are a free text field, so they're totally configurable to your needs. Note statuses is the second step in the administration of creating project notes. Note statuses are created to match your organization's needs as well, and there is also no limit on the number of note statuses you can create. Here's a sample of some note statuses, and these are more related to issue and risk tracking. And again, these are free text fields which make them completely configurable for your organization's needs. The third step in setting up project notes is optional. You can create user-defined fields for project notes. User-defined fields are also available in other areas of Unanet, as you see here: expense types, organizations, person, project, project note, and task. User-defined fields as a whole in Unanet are used to capture and report on information that is not standard in Unanet. Each user-defined field can specify a data type, which can be a pick list, it can be numeric, or it can be free text. It can also, you can choose your requirement options and your show options. One of the great things about user-defined fields is that you can report on them in ad hoc reports. So here's an example of a notes user-defined field that's defined as areas affected. In this, I've chosen to do a pick list option of different areas in the organization that would be affected by whatever's going on with the project note. So if the project note type was an issue or a risk, you could then say that the administrative group was going to be affected by that group. We do provide you with a wizard that will assist you in your pick list setup. Once you have done those three things in setting up note types, note statuses, and user-defined fields, you can begin to create project notes in your system. In order to create a project note, you simply go to your Project tab and then Notes. If you land on that note screen, it will give you the ability to search the notes that are in your system. If you wish to add a new note, you simply click on the plus sign Project Note. Then it will give you the ability to create notes by project. This is important because all notes will be associated with a project. You then would create a note title and note description. These are extremely important in the Notes feature because you can search by keyword in these fields. You would then choose your note type and note status. You can create a due date as well as a completed date. This will allow you the ability to track the progress of your note or action in the system. You're also able to designate an assignee, allow access by role. So for instance, if you have a project and you are going to attach a statement of work in a note to that project, but you only want your project managers to see that information, you can allow that access by that role. No other users in the system would be able to see that statement of work. You would then fill out the information in your user-defined fields, attach documents as necessary, and email the information in the note to a specific person or groups of people that may be impacted. Once it's been created, you can then use the search tool to list the notes that you would like to see. For instance, in this particular example, I'm showing some issue notes. You'll see here that the areas affected is listed, as well as the priority, impact, and probability, and there's an ability to create a comment trail. As a bonus, you will also see all attachments that go with that note. So how does this really work in real life? What is the business need for project notes? Other than attaching contracts, requirements, action items, all with easy access to the project, let's see some scenarios of how customers have used project notes to help their business. I have 3 case studies that I'm going to go over. 2 are very simple. 1 is a bit more complex, showing you the differences of how you can use this feature. So this customer captures customer issues and risks and how likely they will affect certain areas of their organization. They create risk notes. They then give them a title, and using the detailed note information, can put free text into the system, and then have a comments area to add or create a chain of events that occurs with that particular issue or risk. We also have an audit trail feature, just like we do for our expense reports and timesheets, that allows you to then track in an easy way how this note has been modified or changed, or in this circumstance, how it's been assigned or resolved. Case study number 2, using notes for references. This particular customer wanted a place to capture searchable information about their satisfied customers and successful projects. We all know that when you are searching for more business, your sales team says, well, who are our happy customers? Unanet Notes is a great way to store this information. You'll see here we've created a note type of references. I've given it a note title of past performance reference or implementation reference for the second one. I'm now using the user-defined field of customer contact so that I have an easy place to store that customer contact information. And I have some details about what occurred. So for instance, on this first note, it says, worked with Team A on 4 initiatives, bid through successful implementation, will serve as a reference for these future projects, and please note here where it says cloud computing. This is important because in our reporting efforts, we do have a keyword search capability for reporting. So keeping in mind that this particular reference note includes cloud computing, you can actually create an ad hoc report that will view project notes, and by using the criteria tab in ad hoc reporting, you can determine the items you want to search. For instance, in this case, we want to look at all reference notes that contain the word cloud by using project note description contains cloud. When we run that search, we find the note that we just saw because it contained the word cloud. Okay, case study number 3. This is a little more complex, and this is where we really see the power not only of Unanet Notes, but the power of Unanet in general with ad hoc reporting and customization in reporting. So along with timekeeping, this particular customer captures transactions or numbers of times performing a certain action. This could also be done for widget tracking or units. They share this information along with their invoices, and so they needed to create a weekly log that they could then report on and submit with their invoices. They needed to track a number of change requests versus the number of orders processed in any given week. Their second request was to then calculate automatically an order backlog, which would be a variance between the weekly number of change requests and the orders that were processed that week. You'll see here the final report that we were able to create. You have the project note creation date, the project org code, and some other fields that are standard fields in Unanet, like who created the note and who is it assigned to. Using user-defined fields, we also have the customer contact information and some descriptors. Let's see how we created this. The first step is to create specific user-defined fields. In this instance, not only did we want to have areas that are affected or impacts and priorities, but we needed to add user-defined fields for change, request, and orders process. You'll notice here that we have decided to make these numeric data types, meaning you can only process them as a number. The second step was to create a new note type that would log activity statistics. The description here is activity or transaction logging. This will give you the ability, when you create a project note, to log activity stats and then to search only on these types of transactions. You'll note that in the description you can use spaces, but in the note type you must use an underline or a hyphen instead of a space. Once you have those set up, you could create a note. In order to create a note, you go to your project dashboard and select Notes on the menu bar. Then you would click on the Add a Note, and when creating your note, the first thing you do is select the project that this would be associated with. Again, I stress the importance of understanding your business process before using project notes. Keep in mind that if you have a generic project note, for instance, human resources documents, that will also have to be associated with a project that is accessible by all people in your organization. So just keep in mind that as you set these up, that they will have to be attached to a specific project, whether it's a customer project or an administrative function within your organization. So any information pertaining to that customer can be added into the note description box, and we do suggest that you use a standard naming mechanism for your note titles. Both the note title and note description provide you the ability to perform keyword searches in the system. This is critical in setting up ad hoc reports and reporting on project notes. Just like our cloud computing example, if there's a specific keywords or number of words that you want to be able to report on, make sure you have some standard naming mechanisms. Once you have associated the note with a project, named it, and given it some detail, you can then choose the note type and note status. These will be provided for you in a drop-down box, and the drop-down box stems from what you've created in your admin setup. Then you can add a due date or a completion date, or both. We also allow you the ability to assign the note to someone within your organization. That would then send them an email and make them responsible for the next steps in the action plan for that note. When we talk about note access, this is vital to the security of the note data. Again, if there are certain roles in the Unanet system that you don't want to see the information in that project note, then you would click the Allow Access by Role and only choose the roles that are allowed to see that information. Once you've inputted that information, you would then input the transactional information into the user-defined fields. So again, based on this case study, our customer wanted to see change request versus orders process. So we chose activity stats, the area affected, and the priority, impact, and probability of this occurring, the customer contact, and the change request and orders process for that week. You can also add attachments or select to send an email notification. I would note that attachments can be Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, pictures, PDFs, any kind of document that you choose. Once you've created the note, we then suggest creating an ad hoc report so that you can then report on that specific note. Again, this particular customer not only wanted to see change orders and orders processed, but they had a specific need to create an order backlog. So the first thing you do with creating an ad hoc report is to choose your report columns. In this report, we are using a project notes ad hoc report. So we have chosen the report columns that are necessary for this report. The second step would be sorting those columns in the order that you want to see data. So I have chosen here to sort these columns first by creation date and then by the actual project org code. Thirdly, you would select the criteria that is necessary for this specific report. Remember, if you're creating a report with project notes, it's going to give you all project notes. So what we've done here is chosen criteria that allows for only project notes with the type name of activity stats. The next step for this particular case was to create custom columns. This is where Unanet becomes extremely powerful in ad hoc reporting. If you have yet to use custom columns or the summary tab in ad hoc reports, please contact your CAM at cam@unanet.com to understand this feature better. In creating custom columns, we were able to name a new column as order backlog. As you know, there is nowhere else in Unanet that has a column or a field with this name. We're formatting it as a number, and we have the ability to create a simple formula, or quite honestly, a complex formula, depending upon your needs, to calculate this order backlog for us. In this case, it was project note change request minus project note orders processed. Finally, using the summary tab, you can choose all of those report columns that are specialized columns to either be summarized, averaged, or looking at the minimum or maximum for that number. We've chosen to do a summary here. So we've gone through, in this case study, setting up the administrative areas in the project notes features, creating a project note, and now creating an ad hoc. Let's see what that report looks like again. Here again we have the custom ad hoc report that we created. Now that you're more familiar with the different areas in the system, you'll notice here are our user-defined fields. These are the fields that we have created specific to project notes: areas affected, impact, priority, probability, and for this particular case, more importantly, change requests and orders processed. You'll then find here our custom column, order backlog. You'll notice that this is now automatically calculating the variance between change requests and orders processed. Very simple. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 orders remain in the backlog for that week. We also have here our summary function. This summarizes the number of change requests, orders, and backlog items. And finally, our standard note fields. Again, using your report columns options, you can make this report as long or as simple as you wish. Finally, for this particular case study, for easy access, we recommended that they save this report to their dashboard so that they have easy access to see their change order backlog on a regular basis. This also gives them the ability to share this report with others in their organization so that everyone is looking at the same thing. You can also save your list to your dashboard. So here's our activity stats list. Again, giving you easy access to the information that you've now created. And finally, we suggest that you create an email reminder that sends a broadcast announcement on a regular basis that reminds people to go and look at this report. So what's new in 9.6? We typically don't show too much about upcoming products, but one of the things that's coming in our 9.6 release, which is scheduled for late summer or fall, is a new report called Organizational Activity. This is an awesome report for Unanet. Reason being, it now gives you the ability to show activities related to an organization or project. Why is this important? Well, let's say that as a customer account manager, I'm going to call one of my customers, and I want to know who else in my organization has worked with that customer, spoken with that customer, or had any interaction with them in the last few days or weeks. I can use this report to track the activity of what's occurred with that particular customer. Project Notes is a critical piece to this organizational activity report functioning well. Reason being, we will now be giving you the ability to look at multiple layers of activity within your organization. So the first screen we'll look at is organization activity. We'll be providing you the ability to see organizational data, including some user-defined fields that allow for links. So if you have a Salesforce account or Jira or any other system that you may be using that you would like to link that organization to, you will be able to then link that account to your outside system. Also, you'll see the projects that are related to that organization. And finally, and most importantly, you'll be able to see the activities that have occurred in relation to that organization. You'll note here that there are two types of activities that show. One being project notes, so any notes that have been logged against that organization, including their attachments and comments, and also timesheet comments. So we have heard from you before that you wanted to have additional fields or information in your timesheets, but you don't necessarily want to put them in timesheet comments because you want to be able to report on them. Well, now here's your solution. You can start to use project notes, create note types that are important for your organization, and by using the organizational activity report, you can see an ongoing activity list of the things that have occurred. So let's see how this works in the system. I am logged in as a project portfolio user. As you'll notice here under my reports, I have saved here my notes change order backlog report. This is the report we just created. I do want to show you that using the criteria in any ad hoc report, you can perform keyword searches. So if I were to go in and under my report columns, I decide to add project note detail, you'll then notice that I have descriptions here. Now let's say that we only want to view the notes that have the word number in them. You'll notice that we have 5 reports here, or notes here, but we only want to search on criteria that would give us the specific information we need. So going back to criteria, you could say, in the project note description, we want it to contain the word number. And now you'll see that only that one report has come back. Moving back to our home screen, you'll see here we've done this as well with reference notes. In this particular reference note, this was the one with cloud computing. If we went back to criteria and deleted this, this criteria that it has to have the word cloud, you'll then see that we see more of our reference notes. If you determine that you don't want to see all those fields, you simply use your report columns and you can subtract any of those fields that you wish. Now, as far as setup, you go to the admin setup area. And this is where you would find your project notes and statuses under the project area. So first you would set up note types. And again, very simple to create a new note type. It's simply a free text field and a description. Setting up note statuses is just as simple. A free text field and description. Finally, you have your user-defined fields. You get 10 user-defined fields for project notes. And it is in this area that you can choose the data type, whether it's required or not, whether it shows, and if it's active or not. And again, if your note type is a pick list, you simply click on the wizard, and it will help you to determine how your pick list is ordered. Again, in using project notes, you go to the project notes area. This gives you the ability on the search screen to search all the notes that you have in the system, or to search them by particular project, person, assignee, note type, and once again, this great feature of keyword search. So again, if we wanted to look at all of our notes that contain the word cloud, and that's our only criteria, we will still find that note that we had before. This is a really phenomenal piece of using the system. It's one of the only areas that you're able to do these easy keyword searches. And by using ad hoc reporting, you can have this feature as well as other fields in the system all combined into one report. Creating a project note is also simple by clicking on the plus sign, project note. You associate that note with a project. Give it a note title and description. You have a drop-down box for your note types, note statuses, your dates, assignees, allowing access by role, and then here are your user-defined fields. Here's the area where you can add attachments, and then some options for email notifications. So as you can see, Unanet allows you the ability to keep and store documentation, have action items on risks or issues, and report on various information that you aren't otherwise capturing in the system. That's it for our notes feature. I do want to open the polls up for any questions, and I want to take one other quick poll to see if we've gained any interest in Unanet Notes. So if you wouldn't mind just taking this quick poll. About 50% of you have voted. Just waiting for a few more of you to finish voting. Okay, so very exciting. I feel like I accomplished something today. You can see here that it looks like quite a few of you are now interested in using Unanet Notes and moving forward with getting at least some more information on how to map out your business process and integrate this into your usage of the system. So that's fantastic. And your customer account management team, myself, Renee Peluso, Sherry Dargenio, and our fearless leader, Donna Kilborn, are all ready and willing to help you to understand how to use this better. So what's coming up with our customer webinars? Next week we have a new open forum Q&A. This is a new format that we're going to be doing for our webinars. You do need to submit questions by Monday for this open forum Q&A. It will be next Thursday. There is limited space, so please register early and submit your questions. We will have someone from our services team fielding questions with me as well. And these questions can be on Unanet functionality, usage, enhancements, anything that really pertains to your usage of Unanet. So we're really hoping to get a good turnout for that. We're going to start holding those monthly and to try to gain traction to give you a forum to ask questions. We also have coming up a webinar on reporting and dashboards and our tips and tricks webinar. So it is important also that you guys are familiar with our live Unanet University classes. We have some of those coming up as well. We have administrator training coming up August 2nd here at Unanet University in Sterling, Virginia. We also have our billing and invoicing and contract course coming up in September, EVM in October, and again, admin training in November. So where can you find this information? Visit us online at unanet.com. So at unanet.com, there is a for customers area. It is very crucial that this is the area that you visit in the system for training documentation, training videos, and our support site, which does require secure login. Also, if you want to practice some of the features that you've learned about, like project notes, then you can register for an online demo. Practice using notes before you implement them. This is available to all of our customers. It is a demo site that is refreshed quarterly, and we would be happy for you to play in that system, if you will, looking at Unanet features like project notes, but also different license types like our portfolio product with resource planning, billing, project costing, all of those features that you may not have access to now. So these are found on our unanet.com website, the For Customers area, and our online demo. We thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please contact your customer account manager or pose them in our poll here. I'm going to leave this open for a little bit so you guys can add your questions in the Go To Webinar box. And please be sure to visit our webinar archives. We have been recording our webinars, and they are all available to you at unanet.com/recorded-webinars. Thank you so much for joining us today. And let me see if I have any questions that we may want to go through. I do have a couple minutes here. Will I make the slide deck available? Absolutely. Please contact your CAM or just contact CAM at unanet.com to request this slide deck. I did try to make it as interactive as possible so you could share it with other people in your organization without having to actually have me there. But of course, we're happy to help you. I have a question. Can we associate a note with more than one project? At this time, you can only associate a note with one project at a time. Looks like I have some detailed questions on reporting, project revenue, and cost projections for current and future years. I would need to get some more details on how you'd really want to use that. We can certainly look at that, maybe create some user-defined fields. So we will make sure to get back to you. And that looks like it's about it for now. So thank you so much for joining us. And we really appreciate that you are a Unanet customer. Have a great day.